I'm Noah from American Trucks, and in front of me I have the Rough Country Heavy Duty Front LED bumper for the 2013 to 2018 Ram 1500, excluding the Rebel. Now this front bumper is really going to appeal to that Ram owner who's looking to get some serious front end protection for their truck, as well as really transform their truck's front end into something much more aggressive and much beefier than factory. If you're planning on off-roading or just working hard with your Ram, then a heavy-duty steel bumper really is a great addition to your truck. Now obviously they do protect the front end of your truck from any impact, but they also look sweet too, so I don't blame you if you just grab one for your truck just for the looks. Now this one from Rough Country has some great features. The first of those being is that there are multiple LED lights right here on the front of the bumper and on the sides, and we do have a large bar here that goes right up front. Now these are going to be great for inclement weather or just looking out for deer or shining down the trail. Also, you'll really notice that the profile of this bumper is pretty hefty as well. Now this bumper is the heavy duty version and is going to be much larger than some of the other options out there like a modular bumper. Just because a bumper is large doesn't mean it needs to look awkward. The lines of this bumper, I think, really accent the lines of the truck, and it looks right at home on the front of your Ram. Now everything here is steel and then powder coated black for a super durable finish that will ward off any rust. It also comes with a 5-year warranty as well, so all in all, you can be confident that this thing is built well. So this is a heavy duty front bumper, like I said before. That means you're paying for quite a lot more steel than some of those other bumpers like a stubby bumper or a brush guard. This bumper from Rough Country does come in right around $1,200, making it on the cheaper side of the full bumper range because there's not a whole lot going on in terms of design compared to some other options. Now that price does include those LEDs as well, which is a great thing to consider when shopping around for bumpers. Now on to the install process. This bumper does just bolt on where the old bumper was, and it really shouldn't be that big of a deal for someone with a little bit of technical skill to get this put on their truck. Now it would also be a great idea to count on having a friend nearby to help you hold it in place while you attach it, because this thing weighs a ton and it is huge. Now the install difficulty is going to be 2 out of 3 wrenches because we are throwing some lights into the mix, but I'd say it's safe for you and a friend to expect about a 2-hour install. But that's enough from me. I'm gonna hand you over to one of the guys in the install bay and he's gonna take you through the process step by step.
The tools you're gonna need for this install include an impact, a clip removal tool, a panel removal tool, a 3/8 extension, 18mm half socket, 10mm 3/8 socket, a 10 and 7mm 1/4" socket, a 3/8 swivel socket, a 4mm Allen key or the one included in the kit, a 13, 14, 16, 17, and 18mm wrench, a pair of diagonal cutters, zip ties that are included in the kit, an 18mm ratcheting wrench. What's up guys? Today we're going to be installing a front bumper on our Ram, but before we get started you're going to watch a short video on how to uninstall your front bumper, and I'll meet you back here for the install.
Alright, so the first step in our uninstall with the hood popped, and you will have to remove your rad support cover. Our truck does not currently have one. Grab a 10mm socket and remove the 4 bolts holding on the top of the grill. With all of the bolts removed, lift up on the brackets on the grill, slide it off your truck, grab the bottom and pull straight towards you. All right, at this point we need to remove 3 of the bolts holding the bumper to the wheel well liner. Our truck only has 1 here, but make sure that you have all 3 of these out. Grab your 7mm socket and remove them. I'm also going to remove this 7mm bolt as well, so we can peel back the wheel well liner and have a bit more room. With the wheel well liner pulled back, now we can see the bolt that holds on the fender to the bumper. You might have a little bit of trouble, but it's right on the inside here. It is pretty long and it's in a precarious location, so you're gonna need a small ratchet or even a ratcheting wrench, 10 millimeter. If you like, you can take the headlight out to get a little bit better access. But if you're cool to use a small tool, you can get to it right from the wheel well. Let's go ahead and remove it. All right, now we're gonna repeat that process on the other side. All right, so at this point, we're gonna remove the nuts that hold on our bumper to our frame. Now you will notice this new replacement bolt on our bumper. So we're gonna need to use a wrench on the backside here. You guys will not. So grab your 18 millimeter socket and remove these. Now you may want a swivel socket for some of these to be able to get a good angle on your nut. Go ahead and remove them. All right, now the last one is a little bit higher up, so we're gonna be using a ratchet because the gun does not fit. It also may be a little bit hard to see, but it's the same concept of the other three you just took out. Grab your 18 millimeter socket and repeat that process on the other side. Again, we're gonna be using a swivel for this one. It's a little bit easier. And make sure your bumper is supported so that it does not fall when you take out the rest of the bolts. And finally, the last nut all the way up the top. We're gonna grab a ratchet for this one and remove it. And finally, make sure you unplug the fog light harness, press down on the gray tab, and remove it. All right, with all of those bolts removed, you can grab your bumper. You may want a friend for this step to help you out, and slide it off the truck. With the bumper cover removed, you can now grab the bumper itself and pull it off of your truck. We do have to remove these plastic pieces underneath the headlight. There's 3 bolts, one on the inside, one underneath, and one to the side. So grab a 10 millimeter socket, and I do have a small extension. Let's get these removed. Now you can repeat that on the other side. This one is broken on our truck. You will still have 3. Let's get these removed. Grab your 10 millimeter socket and a small extension and pull them out. And finally, we have to remove this center support piece. There are 2 bolts on either side. Grab your 10 millimeter socket and remove them. And repeat that on the other side.
All right guys, so the first step of the install, we're gonna be installing our middle light bar. So we have to install our brackets first. This is labeled P for passenger. So we're gonna slide this on top. We're gonna take our small bolt, lock washer, and washer. We're gonna put that through the top. On the bottom, we're gonna thread in our nut. We're not going to fully tighten these down yet until we have the light bar installed and in place. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do that on the other side. All right guys, so before we mount up our light bar, I went ahead and measured how far we need on each side of the bracket. So from the bracket to this lip here is going to be 1 inch. So we're gonna need to do that on both sides, and then we're gonna tighten that down with our 13mm socket and a 13mm wrench. So now we can grab that 13 wrench and socket, and we're gonna tighten this down. I can repeat that for the other bracket. Now we can set our light bar in place. We're gonna take our Allen head bolt and washer, and we're gonna thread that through from the outside of the bracket into our light bar. Do that for the other side. Then we can take a 5mm Allen key, and we're gonna tighten both of these up. Over here and tighten this side up. All right, so now our middle light bar is installed. All right guys, so next step we're gonna be installing the 2 pod lights on each side. To make this a little easier, we're gonna remove this cage. So we're gonna take the included Allen key and a 10mm socket, and we're gonna remove the 4 bolts to remove that cage. So now we can take our Allen key, we're gonna go through the front, and we're gonna loosen that up with our 10mm socket. Set these bolts off to the side. And we got 2 more on the other side. Got 1 more. Make sure we hold on to that cage. Now we can pull toward you. Now you can repeat that process for the other side. Next, we're going to be installing the brackets for our pod lights. So as you can see, there's a little bend here. We're going to have that bend facing towards the outside of the vehicle. So we're going to have this setting up like so. We're going to grab the bolt, lock washer, and washer that's included in that small bag that's included with these pod lights. So we're going to put this through the top, put our bracket in, and we'll grab our nut that's also included in the kit. Just going to thread these on. I'm just going to make them hand tight so when we have the pod lights in, we can adjust. Got the same thing. I'm going to space that out so there's nothing in the middle. Now we can grab our pod lights and install them. Next, we have our pod light. We're going to install that into the bracket. These brackets are going to slide into the outer slots so it lines up with the threads on the side of the pods. So then we can take our small Allen head bolt with our included hardware. We're going to thread that into the side. This will also be the place where you can adjust the height of your pods. So we're going to flip that over. And we'll do that same thing. So now we can set this into place. So now once we have our two side bolts tightened down, for this top bolt, we can grab a 14mm wrench. We don't have to hold on to the bottom because these two side pieces hold in the nut. We'll grab that 14 and we'll tighten it down. This way it makes it for easy adjustment when you're aligning these fog lights. So now you can repeat this process for this fog light and for the other side. So now we can reinstall our cage. We're gonna have our wires go through these holes here while we set that back up into place. So then we'll grab that same hardware that we removed and we'll reinstall. This process might be a little harder than removing due to the fact that we have our pod lights in there now. Just get that bolt threaded on there, the nut I mean. Go. And we got one more up here at the top right. Another good option, you might be able to put the bolt on the Allen key, come in from the side here. Like so. Thread that nut back on. Now we can slide our included Allen key through one of the holes. We'll get that on our Allen bolt. We'll tighten that up with our 10mm socket. And we have two more on the other side. Now you can repeat these steps for the other side. All right, so now would be the time where you'd swap over your sensors from your factory bumper over to our new bumper. In our case, our vehicle does not come equipped with sensors, so the kit includes these covers that slide into the spots where they're supposed to be, so that way no water or anything will get into those holes. So now we're just gonna slide this rubber cover through the spot. That's just going to press into place. There is 6 of these sensors, so you're gonna repeat that process for the remaining 5. All right guys, so now we moved on to the vehicle. We have our bumper mount here. A good tip to figure out which your driver and passenger side, when you're unboxing, all of your components will be wrapped in green for the driver's side, and for the passenger, it will be clear. So now we're gonna mount these up using the 8mm bolt, lock washer, and washer. And on the back side is going to be a washer and your nut. So now we can get these lined up into the factory holes. I'm gonna put that washer and our nut on the back side. Twist this up. Go up to the one diagonal from it. Put our washer and our nut. Just to hold that in place. Now we got two more. Now we got one more here on the bottom right. Then we're going to go ahead and tighten these up with a 16mm socket and a 16mm wrench. Might want to leave these a little bit loose so when we get the bumper on, we can have our adjustments and lined up. So now you can install this mount on the passenger side. All right guys, so now we're ready to install our bumper onto the vehicle. Got myself a second set of hands to help me get this on. Once we have this in place, we're gonna use a bolt, lock washer, and washer. And on the back side is going to be our washer and our nut. So now we can get this installed. We're gonna have these squares line up with our mount. All right guys, so now we're ready to tighten up our bolts to the mount. A helpful tip, I grabbed a jack with a piece of wood to hold this up so it's lined up with the headlight. So now I grabbed an 18mm ratcheting wrench and an 18mm wrench. We're gonna tighten these up. All right, we got two more. Might need to thread these on a little bit more. We got one more up here at the tippy top. Might need to tighten up by hand first. So now that we have the passenger side done, we can repeat that process for the other side. All right guys, so to fill in this gap, it comes with a trim piece that we're going to, it has threads on the bottom, and we're gonna screw them in with the Allen head bolts. So that's gonna go through the bumper, We're going to thread that onto the first one. Just going to thread that in and twist it over into place. We can get our second bolt. I just need to see where you're at. Swing this back over. Then you could either grab the included Allen key in the kit, or you can grab a 4mm Allen key or Allen socket, and we can tighten this down. So it might be a little tricky to see, but the 2 bolts are right behind the end of this bumper. So we'll grab that 4mm socket and we'll tighten these up. Now you can repeat this process on the other side. All right guys, so before we start wiring up our light bars, I'm gonna throw on our D-rings. So we're gonna loosen up that bolt and remove that. We're gonna slide that between our mount, slide them through, thread that in. Now we can come over and do that on the other side. So now we're ready to wire up all of our light bars. We have our connectors here that'll be going on the battery terminals. So we're gonna set these off to the side along with that relay. And the switch. Just gonna have that sitting up here first. I have to undo the tangle. Then we're going to drop these 2 connectors down through the engine bay so we can connect them to our 2 pod lights. You guys can wire this up however you'd like, but this is how I'm going to show you. So now I've fished down our 2 connectors from the harness. We're going to plug them into our pod light. Then you can take the included zip ties and tighten everything down and get it out of the way. So moving on to the second set of pod lights, we're going to drop those connectors down with our second wiring harness. Just going to fish that down there, and we'll connect those pod lights down there. And we're going to do that same thing as the passenger side. All right guys, so we have our first harness. We're gonna set this section off to the side. And when it comes to these 2 connectors, we're gonna run one side to the inner part of the pod lights. So that's gonna be the one closer to the middle. And we're gonna run the other one to the other side, also the one closer to the middle. So we're gonna run this one over to the passenger side. And we're going to drop this one down to the driver's side. Now we can plug both of those in. So we have our connector from the harness, and this is to our middle pod. So we're going to plug this in. And you guys can tuck this up. Grab a bag of zip ties because you're going to need it to tuck up all these wires. So now we can head on over to the other side and plug that in. Now we can plug in our driver's side. We can tuck this out of the way. Now you can repeat that same process for the outside pod lights. Now for our middle light bar, our connector is going to be a little different, but we're going to run that down through the middle, and we're going to run it between the radiator and the radiator support. And drop that down. We're going to set this off to the side because we'll cover that in a second. And come under and connect our light bar. So now we have our connector from the wiring harness and our connector from the light bar. We're going to connect the 2 prongs with this notch here going into the notch on the connector. Then we can grab this piece and start threading that on so we don't loosen up the connection. Now we can tuck that up. All right, guys, so next we're gonna grab a 10mm socket and we're gonna remove this nut. This is going to be for our positive cables. We're going to remove that nut. I'm going to place all of these connectors over top of the stud. And we're going to thread our nut back on and tighten it down with our 10 mil. So now we're going to grab all of our negative cables, bunch those together, and we're going to loosen up this bolt here, which is a ground. So we're going to remove this bolt. Going to put these in between. Make sure that's lined back up. And then we'll tighten them back up with our 10 mil. Make sure that they're not getting pinched. There we go. Next, we're going to mount up our relay. So we're going to grab that same 10 mil and remove this bolt. Going to be pretty much the same thing as that negative cables. We're going to lay this over and back on. Now we can repeat this process for the remaining 2 relays. All right guys, so when it comes to getting all of our wires out of the way of anything hot or moving, we're gonna grab a bunch of our wires. It's from all of the light bars. You're gonna wanna make sure that you grab a bunch of zip ties. So we're gonna grab this bunch here. There is a harness down here already that we're going to loop the zip tie around and hold all of these securely. Just gonna keep going around, making sure that nothing's hitting. You can grab a pair of diagonal cutters to cut off the excess of the zip ties. And another place to go is once you have your excess bunched up, and go through this hole here. And tie these up. So you guys don't really have to worry about what it looks like up top, because once you install the grill, and there is a cover that goes over top that hides all of this. So now you can go back through and use those zip ties and tighten up everything, get it out of the way, make sure that nothing's in the way of the heat or anything moving. All right guys, so now we're going to be routing all 3 of our switches through the firewall so then we can mount it up on the dash. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna locate this rubber grommet here, which pushes out. So we can push that out, and then we're going to put these 3 in. We're gonna go one at a time. Feed that through. Grab our second one. Feed that one through. And we'll grab our last one, do that same thing. Now I'm gonna go through on the other side and pull out as much as I need, and then we're gonna tuck this up and use a zip tie to clear all this out. Now we can reach down and grab all of our switches. Gonna pull as much as we need. The one that I have on is going to be the outer pod lights, so I'm gonna mount these here. So I'm gonna let these hang for a second. We're gonna peel off that white backing. We're gonna mount that right here. turn that off. This one is going to be the inside pod lights. So we're going to remove that backing, put that on the right side. And this one is our main light bar. We're going to peel that off again. Pull that so we have enough slack. And we can set that into place. Now they all work. So now we can reinstall our grill. These tabs down here are going to line up with the tabs down in the bottom. And we're going to put these on top of the mount. Then we can take our 4 10mm bolts, and we're going to thread those in up top. So now we can thread these in. I'm going to start with the middle two first. And the two on the sides are going to be the bolts with the larger threads. So now we can tighten all these down with our 10mm socket. Then we can throw that plastic cover I was talking about right over top. The holes are going to line up. We're going to use our Christmas tree clips to press these down into place. We got 2 more on both sides. So that's going to wrap up the review and install on our Rough Country heavy duty front LED bumper for your 1318 Ram 1500, excluding the Rebel. Thanks for watching, and for all things Ram, keep it right here at AmericaTrucks.com.